Success is not the result of chaos, it's the outcome of calm. You may be running faster, pushing harder, and working longer hours than ever before. Yet the more you chase success, the more elusive it seems. Why is that? Because in the race to achieve, we often lose control over the most powerful tool at our disposal, our mind. The truth is, the key to true success lies not in how fast you move, but in how well you manage your inner world. When you master your emotions, harness your focus, and learn to remain calm under pressure, that's when success becomes inevitable. Breathe deeply. Be present. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. News, social media, endless demands on your time. They drown out the stillness that allows you to thrive. But Stoic philosophy offers a powerful, time-tested solution. Calmness isn't weakness, it's your greatest strength. In this video, you'll learn how embracing calmness can lead to mastery over your actions, decisions, and emotions. You'll discover how to build resilience, silence the noise, and make decisions with clarity, even in chaos. No more being swept away by life. Take control. If you're ready to build a steady, unshakable foundation for your success, stay with us. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This journey is just beginning, and it's one you won't want to miss. 1. Stop fighting reality. Flow with strength. Success doesn't always come to those who fight the hardest. Sometimes it comes to those who know when to stop resisting and start flowing. In a world obsessed with control, the idea of letting go feels like surrender. But it isn't. Letting go is an act of power, a decision, a deep, quiet recognition that fighting what's already happened is not strength, it's wasted motion. You don't have to wrestle the storm to move forward. You just need to know where to stand when it hits. And that, right there, is where calmness begins. We've been conditioned to believe that struggle equals progress, that to win, we must push, resist, dominate. But Stoicism shows us a different kind of mastery, the kind that flows with reality, not against it. Epictetus once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He wasn't exaggerating. The moment we begin resisting life, when we wish it were different, when we curse the outcome, we give away our inner peace. We trade control for chaos. And the more we push against what already is, the more tangled we become in frustration, anger, and confusion. Calmness, on the other hand, does not react, it responds. It doesn't shout, it adjusts. And it always asks the one question that keeps you grounded. What now? Picture this. A couple prepares their wedding for months. The venue is an open garden, the lighting perfect, the flowers chosen down to the petal. Everything is ready. But an hour before the ceremony begins, the sky darkens. Rain pours. The garden is ruined. Guests panic. For a moment, the bride stands still, face pale, hands shaking. But instead of breaking down or blaming fate, she takes a breath, looks around, and points to the reception hall nearby. Candles are lit. The lights are dimmed. Chairs are rearranged in a circle. The storm outside still rages, but inside, something beautiful happens. The rain didn't ruin the wedding. It deepened it, made it intimate, unexpected, unforgettable. That is calmness in action, not passivity, but presence. Letting go of resistance is not about giving up. It's about conserving energy for the things that actually move us forward. When you fight reality, you lose twice. First, because you cannot win. Second, because you lose the clarity to respond with strength. Calm people don't ignore the storm. They adjust their sail. They focus on what's still within reach. The goal isn't to control life. It's to steer yourself through it. Calmness is a choice made in the space between what happens and how you respond. And in that space, you decide whether to react blindly or to move intelligently. The person who accepts the reality in front of them, without bitterness, without noise, creates space for wisdom. They are not distracted by, "Why did this happen?" but centered in, "What will I do with this?" That shift in focus from resisting to realigning is what opens the path forward. You may not be able to stop the chaos, but you can choose not to become it. You can choose to hold your ground, to breathe deeper, to act from stillness. You can stop looking for someone to blame and start looking for the next best step. That's what makes calmness so powerful. It simplifies life. It silences what's not yours to control and amplifies what is. In practice, this means watching your mind when things fall apart. Notice how quickly it wants to rage, to cling, to fight, and instead of fueling that impulse, pause, say nothing. Sit with the discomfort, Then act only when your actions are guided, not by panic, but by clarity. Like the bride who shifted the entire ceremony in minutes without drama, you too can shift any moment if you're anchored enough to see options others miss. Flowing with strength doesn't mean you float aimlessly. It means you navigate consciously. It means you're not here to force the river to change direction. You're here to understand its current, adjust your position, and move forward with power, not resistance. The world is full of people burning out, trying to control everything. The few who remain calm, they go further. They don't just survive storms, they reshape the shorelines they walk on. So the next time life doesn't go your way, don't curse it. Don't clench your fists at the sky. Step back, breathe, watch, then move. Because calmness doesn't just help you endure reality, it helps you master it. 2. Still mind smart moves. How many times have you made a decision too fast and regretted it within minutes? One email, one text, one impulsive reaction, and suddenly you're cleaning up a mess you created in 5 seconds of emotion. That's the cost of an untrained mind, and it's more expensive than you think. In a chaotic world that rewards instant replies and rapid reaction, calmness is becoming a lost art. But it's exactly in those heated, high-pressure moments that calm thinking becomes your greatest weapon. The mind, when stirred by anger, fear, or pride, becomes cloudy. It reacts, it assumes, it fires without aiming. And that's when we miss, not just in words, but in relationships, reputations, and results. Stoicism teaches us that emotions are natural, but they are not commanders. They are signals, visitors. We are not meant to be ruled by them. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That single sentence carries a truth most people never learn. The world can provoke you, but only you decide what happens next. That's not theory, that's self-mastery. And it starts with stillness. Imagine this. A mid-level employee just finished lunch when his phone buzzes. A sharp, dismissive email from his boss, questioning his work, tone loaded with blame. His pulse spikes. The first draft of his reply is raw, defensive, laced with sarcasm. He's ready to send, but something in him hesitates. He opens a blank document instead, pastes the draft there, closes his inbox, walks away. An hour later he returns, reads it again, not with emotion but with distance. He deletes 2/3 of the message, rewrites the rest with clarity, focus, and facts. No excuses, no sarcasm, just a steady tone that corrects the misunderstanding and suggests a path forward. He hits send. 2 hours later the boss replies, short, respectful, appreciative. What changed? Not the situation, but the state of mind behind the response. The difference between a smart move and a stupid one often comes down to seconds of stillness. The pause, the breath, the decision not to act while the mind is inflamed. When you respond too quickly, you're not speaking from reason, you're echoing your agitation. And once those words leave, you can't pull them back. In personal relationships, it costs trust. In business, it costs credibility. In your own mind, it costs peace. Calmness doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let feelings make your choices. You give your mind the space to filter, to question, to ask, is this the right thing? Is this the right time? Am I still in control? These are questions that never arise in the heat of the moment, but they always arrive in the quiet after. The goal is to bring that quiet forward, to put space between the match and the flame. In practice, that space is built through small habits. When triggered, pause. Don't speak, don't type, don't act. Step away if you can. Count your breaths, slow and intentional. Anchor your attention to something neutral. Water, sky, ground, anything that reminds your body that you're not in danger, only discomfort. And when the mind slows down, when the fog begins to lift, return. Then decide what to say, or whether it's worth saying anything at all. People confuse calmness with indifference, but it's the opposite. Indifference is absence of care. Calmness is care under control. It's feeling the full heat of the moment, but refusing to be burned by it. It's choosing the long-term consequence over short-term satisfaction. That's not passivity, that's strategy. And it's a strategy used by the most effective leaders, negotiators, and builders throughout history. They don't win by yelling louder. They win by thinking clearer. The mind that remains still under pressure is the mind that sees what others miss. It notices tone, timing, intention, It doesn't just reply, it leads. It doesn't just survive tension, it shapes outcomes. This is what gives calm people power in any room. They are not ruled by the room. So next time you feel the surge, pause. Let others race to react. You stay rooted. Think before you strike. Because in a world obsessed with speed, it's the calm mind that moves with precision. And in the long run, precision always beats impulse. Always. 3. Let life move. You stay grounded. If you lost your job tomorrow, after 10 years of showing up, giving your best, building your life around it, what would you do in that moment? Would you collapse into frustration, drown in self-pity, or would you pause, breathe, and begin again, this time on your terms? That space between breaking down and breaking through defines the path of a grounded mind. Life does not ask for permission before it changes. It shifts, disrupts, flips everything upside down, often without warning. You plan, you prepare, and then life decides otherwise. Most people respond with resistance. They cling to what was, demand explanations, try to glue back what has already fallen. But resistance only deepens the chaos. The more you fight the current, the more energy you waste. And the more you hold on to the past, the harder it is to receive what's next. This is where calmness isn't just a virtue, it becomes a necessity. Because when everything around you moves, you need to know how to stay still inside. In Stoic thought, this is called amor fati, to love one's fate, not just accept it. That doesn't mean you celebrate pain or pretend to enjoy setbacks. It means you stop labeling events as good or bad the moment they happen. You don't panic. You observe. You wait for clarity. You allow the full shape of the situation to reveal itself before deciding how to move. Calmness creates that space. Without it, you're just reacting. But with it, you're realigning. Picture a founder running a small tech startup. 3 quarters in a row, losses mount. Investors grow cold, employees whisper, everyone expects him to fold. The pressure is suffocating. But instead of making desperate moves to impress stakeholders or throwing in the towel, he steps back, shuts the noise, re-examines every part of the business, not from panic, but from presence. He sees the problem isn't the product, it's the positioning. He pivots the model, adjusts the pricing, shifts the message. It takes 4 more months, but things turn. Revenue rises, confidence returns, and the same company once called a failure becomes something leaner, sharper, stronger. Not because the storm didn't hit, but because the captain didn't abandon the wheel. When you stay grounded, you don't stop the wind, you adjust your sail. You don't control the waves, you control your balance. The Stoics never promised a life without turbulence. What they promised was this: if you remain calm, you will not capsize. You will stay upright, even in the worst of it. That's why in practice, staying grounded requires internal anchoring. It starts with how you speak to yourself when things fall apart. Do you spiral into blame, or do you shift into focus? The calm person does not deny that the loss hurts, but they don't let the pain speak for them. They ask, what's mine to control here? What needs to be done now? These are not dramatic questions. They are stabilizing ones, the kind that give you your power back. A grounded mindset also watches the language of the mind. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? It says, what is this trying to teach me? It doesn't chase control, it seeks clarity. It doesn't look for someone to save them. It starts looking for tools, options, openings. One powerful way to stay grounded during life's shifts is to write. When your mind spins, let your pen speak. Describe what happened. List what's true and what's just your fears talking. Get it out. Then read it like an outsider would. From there, return to your feet, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Go for a walk, move your body, ground your awareness in something tangible. Nothing restores calm faster than reconnecting with the now. The more grounded you are, the less life can shake you. Because the truth is, life will keep changing. People will disappoint you, plans will fall through, opportunities will vanish. But if your center is strong, if your roots go deep, you won't be lost. You'll adapt, you'll rebuild, you'll shift, not from survival, but from inner strength. Calmness is not an escape from life. It is what allows you to meet life where it is and move through it with intelligence and strength. To let the waves come and go while you stand on solid ground within yourself. That is not weakness. That is not passivity. That is control at the deepest level. So when the job ends, the plan breaks, the world turns upside down. Don't rush to fix what's broken. Fix your footing first. Then when you rise, you'll rise with direction. You'll rise with power. And more importantly, you'll rise without losing yourself in the storm. 4. Expect less. Do more. Stay calm. Expectation is a silent thief. It builds castles in your head, then watches them crumble when reality walks in. And the higher the expectation, the deeper the fall. Most people don't lose because life is unfair. They lose because they expected it to be fair. But calmness doesn't live in a mind full of demands. It grows where you shift from waiting to doing, where you trade your need for validation into quiet discipline. That's when you move forward, not louder, but stronger. We expect too much from the world. We expect people to support us, recognize us, deliver what they promised. And when they don't, frustration takes over. Motivation drops. We stop trying, not because we're incapable, but because reality didn't match the fantasy we built. Stoicism cuts straight through this illusion. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." It's a reminder that your job is not to control how life unfolds or how others behave. Your job is to act fully, intentionally, and without the burden of entitlement. Expectation is heavy. It clutters the mind. It ties your worth to outcomes you can't control. But when you drop it, something happens. Your focus returns. You stop waiting and start doing. You stop asking why things aren't easier and start making yourself stronger. Calmness rises from that place, not because things are guaranteed to work out, but because you're no longer ruled by whether they do. I think of my friend who once told me he wanted to learn guitar, to become the next Jimmy Page. He bought a top-end instrument, downloaded the best online courses, and made a plan to master it in 30 days. For the first week, he practiced obsessively. Then the frustration hit. His fingers hurt. His progress was slow. No one around him noticed or praised his efforts. By week 3, he was angry, not at the guitar, but at himself. "Why am I not better yet?" he asked. He nearly quit. But something shifted. He stopped trying to impress, stopped expecting instant growth. He picked one riff, one bar, one tiny section, practiced it slowly, then moved to the next. And over months, not weeks, he got good. Not famous, not perfect, but solid, steady, playful. That switch, from chasing admiration to embracing repetition, changed everything. That's the secret most people miss. You don't get calm from achieving your goals. You get calm when you stop needing to achieve them to feel whole. That inner stillness doesn't come from external wins. It comes from daily control over your choices, over your mindset, over your effort. In practice, this means rewriting your approach. When you set a goal, detach from the outcome. Attach to the process. Instead of thinking, "I want this to happen," reframe it as, "I will show up every day regardless of what happens." That subtle shift turns pressure into power. Because now success isn't measured by applause, it's measured by presence. It also means lowering your emotional dependence on others. Not because you don't care, but because you refuse to be controlled by disappointment. When someone forgets to support you, when a partner doesn't react the way you hoped, when a client walks away, don't take it personally. Return to what's in your hands. The work, the practice, the habit. That's your domain. That's where calm grows. The reason most people burn out isn't effort, it's emotional overload. Expectation turns effort into a gamble. And when the result doesn't come fast, they collapse. But when you expect nothing, every gain is a bonus. Every obstacle is just another rep. You become anti-fragile. You stop seeing setbacks as failure and start seeing them as feedback. That perspective is rare and powerful. To make this real, try this. Next time you begin something, new job, new skill, new relationship, pause and ask, what am I secretly expecting? Then drop it. Replace it with action. Replace it with presence. Measure your success not by applause, not by speed, not by outcome, but by how often you return to the task, no matter how you feel. There's strength in that return, and there's calm in that strength. Because when you live with low expectation but high consistency, nothing rattles you. You aren't crushed by delay. You aren't offended by silence. You simply keep moving. You aren't begging life to reward you. You're building yourself to withstand whatever life brings. Calmness in this way becomes more than just a mental state. It becomes armor. You move without fear. You work without needing approval. You stay steady, not because it's easy, but because you've stopped expecting it to be. And that's the mindset that leads to a kind of success most people never touch, the quiet, unshakable kind. If you've made it this far, you're not like most people. Most click away when things get uncomfortable. Most stop listening when the answers aren't easy. But you're still here. And that says something powerful about you. It means you're not chasing quick fixes. You're building something deeper. A calm, focused, disciplined mind that doesn't just survive pressure, but commands it. So stay with me. We're not done yet. There's more ground to cover, more truths to uncover. You've already stepped onto the path. Now let's keep walking it. All the way through. 5. Silence wins battles. What do you say when your voice is burning to speak, but your wisdom tells you to wait? That space between impulse and intention is where the real battles are fought. And more often than not, the one who stays silent first wins last. In the modern world, silence is misunderstood. We see it as weakness, as retreat, as loss of power. But the truth is, silence is one of the most disciplined forms of strength. When you're calm enough to withhold your reaction, you shift the entire dynamic of a situation. You stop being part of the noise and start becoming the one who controls the signal. Stoic philosophy holds silence in high regard, not because it's passive, but because it is deliberate. It's the gap where reason gathers itself before speaking. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That isn't about judgment, it's about control. It's a call to resist the urge to fire back when provoked, to restrain the ego that wants to be right, to be loud, to be seen, and instead to respond only when the dust settles and the mind is clear. Take this scenario. A man, dedicated, consistent, has worked at his company for years. This year he expected the promotion. He had the results, the team's support, the record. But during the quarterly meeting, another name is announced. The room claps. He smiles, but inside, his pride crumbles. That night, he drafts an email to HR, sharply worded, defensive, emotional. He rereads it, pauses, doesn't send. The next day, still hurt, but calmer, he books a private meeting instead. He doesn't accuse, he asks, he listens. They tell him his technical skills are sharp, but his leadership presence isn't there yet. He reflects, enrolls in a leadership course, volunteers to manage cross-team projects. 6 months later, he gets the offer, this time with no hesitation. Not because he yelled for it, but because he built himself into it. When you're silent at the right moment, you're not being weak. You're choosing your battleground. You're stepping back to see the full picture while others are still swinging blind. And in a world that overvalues volume, being the one who holds their voice until it matters carries power of a different kind, the kind that earns respect, not just attention. Silence isn't about repressing. It's about refining. It doesn't mean bottling up every feeling. It means holding them long enough to understand whether they deserve to be spoken or simply let go. It's the calm restraint that saves relationships, preserves reputations, and protects your peace. Because not every opinion needs to be expressed. Not every attack deserves a counterstrike. And not every misunderstanding requires immediate correction. When you're confronted by disrespect, criticism, or even injustice, the urge to retaliate is real. But here's where calmness rewrites the script. Instead of reacting with emotion, you reclaim control with poise. You listen longer than is comfortable. You ask a question instead of throwing an accusation. You give silence the space to do what words often cannot: de-escalate, disarm, and recenter the conversation. If you want a practical way to apply this, start here. The next time you're triggered, pause. Count to 10, literally. Say nothing. Let your breath catch up to your brain. Let the storm pass through your chest without flooding your mouth. Then ask yourself, if I say what I'm thinking right now, will it solve the problem or feed it? And if it doesn't need to be said, let it dissolve. That's not cowardice. That's strategy. The calmest person in the room always has the highest ground, because while others lose themselves in emotion, the calm one gains perspective, gains leverage, gains clarity. Silence is a skill. And like any skill, it grows with practice. Practice it in small moments, when you're cut off in traffic, when someone talks over you, when you feel misunderstood. Each time you choose silence, you sharpen your discipline. You prove to yourself that your emotions serve you, not the other way around. So yes, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Because silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of control. It's the sound of a mind that sees deeper, waits longer, and strikes only when necessary. In a world full of noise, that kind of mind doesn't just survive, it commands the room, quietly, completely. 6. Use pain. Don't run from it. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. That line from Seneca isn't poetic, it's practical. It's a call to stop fearing discomfort and instead to face it like a craftsman shaping steel. Patient, steady, unafraid of heat. In a society obsessed with ease, instant fixes, and comfort zones, we've been taught that pain is the enemy. But if you're always running from it, you're also running from the growth waiting behind it. Most people break not because pain hits them too hard, but because they never learn to sit with it. The moment things get tough, they escape. They scroll, binge, distract, blame. But pain that is avoided only festers. It becomes fear. It controls you from the shadows. Stoicism flips that script. It teaches you to meet pain head-on, not to suffer for suffering's sake, but because within every blow is a lesson, a message, a tool for your next move. Calmness in pain doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't panic. You don't get consumed. You observe. You breathe. You ask better questions. Where is this pain pointing me? What is it exposing? That's where the transformation begins. Not in resistance, but in recognition. Think about the man who decides to lose weight, not for looks, but for his mental clarity, his energy, his future. He doesn't sign up for boot camp or push to lose 5 kilos a month. He wakes early, laces up his shoes, runs 2 or 3 kilometers, rain or shine, adjusts his meals, no fads, just real food. He doesn't chase perfection. He stays consistent. At first, the scale barely moves, the body aches, but he keeps going. 6 months pass. The mirror reflects someone new, not just leaner, but sharper. His eyes more alert, his decisions more precise, his energy sustained. That change didn't come from force, it came from calm persistence through discomfort. He didn't run from the pain, he ran with it. Pain has 2 paths, reaction or reflection. One makes you bitter, the other makes you better. The difference lies in whether you resist or embrace. And that's where calmness plays its greatest role. Because calmness gives you access to wisdom in the middle of the storm. It creates the space between the hit and your next step. It helps you take pain off the pedestal of drama and put it on the table of growth. To apply this, start small. The next time you feel emotional discomfort, rejection, failure, embarrassment, don't numb it. Don't hide, sit with it. Write down what you're feeling, then separate the facts from the story. Ask yourself, what part of me is this pain touching? Is this the ego? Or is this something I actually need to improve? Calmness lets you hear the pain without being controlled by its volume. Pain isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It shows up as frustration, as boredom, as self-doubt at midnight. In those moments, the calm mind doesn't beg for relief. It gets curious. It stays with the emotion long enough to find its shape, and then it acts, not to escape, but to evolve. This kind of presence builds inner power. You stop being afraid of the hard conversations, the slow days, the lonely periods. You understand that these are not roadblocks, they're tests of your readiness. People often ask for success, but panic at the process. Calmness helps you endure that process without crumbling, without quitting too early, without blaming the world for your growing pains. Every challenge carries energy. You can let it destroy your balance, or you can use it to rebuild something stronger. The Stoics knew that pain is not the enemy. It's a tool, a chisel, a mirror, but only if you're willing to face it without flinching. And that's where real calmness shines. Not when things are easy, but when they're not. Not when you're praised, but when you're pushed. Not when the road is smooth, but when the path disappears and you still keep walking. Calm people aren't emotionless. They've just trained themselves not to let discomfort become a distraction. So the next time pain knocks, don't shut the door. Invite it in. Sit with it. Listen. Learn. Then move. Because when you learn to carry your pain with composure, you don't just grow, you become unshakable. And there's no version of lasting success without that level of calm control. 7. Gratitude is a man's quiet armor. In a world that constantly tells you to want more, have more, be more, it's easy to forget what you already have. And when that happens, your mind slips into scarcity. You begin to measure your life not by what is present, but by what is missing. That's where stress, envy, and distraction take root. But there's one force that dissolves all of it. Gratitude. Not the shallow kind, not the hashtag kind, the quiet, grounded kind. The kind that turns ordinary days into something worth protecting. Stoicism didn't preach gratitude as comfort. It practiced it as armor. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote to himself, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess." He wasn't romanticizing life. He was commanding his mind to remember, what you overlook today, you may beg to have back tomorrow. And that truth alone can reframe your entire experience, if you're calm enough to feel it. Gratitude sharpens your awareness. It clears the fog that ambition sometimes brings. When you're grateful, your decisions become cleaner. You're no longer chasing out of insecurity. You're acting from stability, from enoughness, from power that doesn't need to scream. It's why calm people often seem unshakable. They're not relying on external praise to feel whole. They already see the value in what they've built, quietly, steadily, day by day. I know a man who used to measure his worth by numbers, income, follows, wins. If the needle didn't move, neither did his mood. He chased more, and the more he chased, the more anxious he became. Until one evening, exhausted, he wrote down 3 things he appreciated that day. Nothing grand. A call with his father, a quiet morning, a good cup of coffee. He did it again the next day, then again. A month later, his goals hadn't changed, but something in his pace had. He no longer panicked during setbacks, no longer snapped at silence, because his internal scale had shifted from what's missing to what's here. That shift gave him space, and in that space, calmness returned. This is what most people miss. Gratitude is not passive reflection, it's active protection. When practiced daily, it becomes a filter. It shields your mind from constant comparison, from pressure, from false urgency. It trains your awareness to see progress where others see problems. And over time, that steady lens gives you the focus you need to do real, meaningful work without needing applause to keep going. Start with something small. Each evening, write down 3 things you're thankful for. Don't overthink it. It could be the way sunlight hit your window, a moment of stillness at lunch, a laugh with someone you care about. Do it for 7 days straight, then read them all again. You'll start to see something. Your life is not lacking. Your attention is. Gratitude brings that attention back. And where attention goes, energy flows. You don't have to stop striving. You just need to stop striving from a place of emptiness. Calmness doesn't ask you to give up ambition. It asks you to anchor it, to root your growth in perspective. Because the man who grows from wholeness moves wiser, steadier, longer. He doesn't react, he builds. He doesn't rush, he returns. And what grounds him isn't perfection, it's presence. So the next time you feel lost in the noise, pulled in too many directions, remind yourself, nothing outside of you will ever feel enough if you can't see the value of what's already within reach. Gratitude isn't weakness. It's the quiet armor of those who've learned how to lead themselves first. And that's the only kind of leadership that lasts. 8. Cut the noise. Protect your mind. You can't build clarity in a mind full of clutter. No matter how disciplined you are, if your environment is chaos, your thoughts will follow. In the age of hyperstimulation, mental calm is no longer a luxury. It's survival. Notifications, opinions, algorithms, expectations. Every day, something tries to hijack your attention. And the price isn't just lost time, it's lost focus, lost identity, lost direction. To move with purpose, you need space to think. And to have space, you must learn to cut the noise. Stoicism has always placed the highest value on inner sovereignty, the ability to rule yourself before trying to influence anything outside. Epictetus warned, if you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That wasn't a command to isolate, it was a challenge to detach from the crowd, from performance, from the addiction to being seen. Because once your sense of worth depends on constant input, you've already lost your edge. True calm requires a boundary between your mind and the madness around it. Mental discipline begins with what you allow in. The Stoics believed that not all impressions deserve a seat at your table. You don't owe your attention to every alert, every comment, every demand. You decide what earns your time. Without that filter, your energy becomes scattered, reactive, thin. You start the day with intention, but end it wondering where the hours went. Not because you were lazy, but because your mind was under siege. Cutting the noise is not about isolation, it's about choosing silence as strategy. Silence is the ground where insight grows. Without space, there is no awareness, and without awareness, there is no control. The man who constantly consumes never creates. The person who's always online never hears themselves. And the mind that never pauses can't focus long enough to build anything that lasts. So how do you defend your mind? Begin where the distractions begin. Your phone, your inbox, your schedule. Build rituals that reclaim stillness. Start your morning without a screen. End your day with a thought, not a scroll. Create hours in your week where your mind can breathe. No input, just attention. When your environment stops screaming, your thoughts get sharper. Your actions more deliberate. Your sense of direction clear again. Calmness doesn't just live in how you react, it lives in what you refuse to react to. When you stop letting the world pull you in every direction, you begin to move with force. Not random, not noisy, but precise, grounded. That's when your focus stops scattering and starts slicing through the fog. If you want to be unshakable, you can't just train your willpower, you have to train your inputs. Choose what enters, choose when, choose why. Not every open door deserves a visitor. Not every thought deserves your energy, and not every opinion deserves a reaction. Once you take back control of the noise, calmness is no longer something you chase, it becomes something you protect. Because the strongest minds today are not the ones with the most information, they're the ones who know how to filter, to shut the door, to hear only what matters, and in that silence, they act. Not faster, but better. Not louder, but with more impact. In a world trying to make you reactive, be the one who responds with stillness. And when the noise returns, as it always does, return to your quiet and protect it like the fortress it is. 9. Slow is strong. In a world that rewards speed, slowing down feels like failure. Everywhere you look, people are rushing toward money, toward recognition, toward transformation. But the truth is, what's built fast often breaks faster. If your calmness depends on quick results, you'll never hold it for long. But when you choose to move slowly, with intention, with depth, you build something no storm can shake. Because slow isn't weak, slow is strong. Modern culture makes you feel like you're always behind. Behind in your career, in your growth, in your timeline. That constant urgency breeds panic. It clouds your thinking. It pushes you into short-term wins that cost long-term progress. The Stoics rejected this illusion. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that no great thing is created suddenly. Not wisdom, not virtue, not peace of mind. These things take time, and more than time, they take stillness. Calmness and patience are twins. One feeds the other. When you're patient, you're not at the mercy of external timelines. You're not rushing to prove anything. You're not letting anxiety dictate your moves. Instead, you anchor into the process. You accept the rhythm of real growth, slow, uneven, sometimes invisible, and you keep going anyway. That's what makes it powerful. The challenge is learning to trust the pace, to wake up, put in the work, and not demand immediate rewards. To measure progress and discipline, not dopamine. To show up not because things feel good, but because you know they're building something real. This kind of calm is rare, but it's also magnetic. Because people who move with patience radiate a different energy. They're not desperate. They're focused. They don't crumble under pressure, they absorb it. If you want to create real success, stop chasing speed. Build rhythm instead. Build rituals that keep you grounded. Cut out habits that make you restless. Replace multitasking with deep work. Let your mind slow down enough to think clearly. Let your actions slow down enough to land with weight. This isn't about being lazy, it's about being deliberate. And the beauty of slow growth is that it lasts. Fast progress feels good, but if it's not rooted in depth, it won't survive resistance. When you grow slowly, you internalize the lessons. You develop resilience. You build mental muscle that won't vanish the first time something goes wrong. You stop reacting and start responding with calm, consistent strength. Slow is also how you outlast others. Most people sprint at the start and burn out before the climb begins. But if you pace yourself, if you breathe through the doubts, if you stay committed to your path, regardless of how far others seem, you will go further. You'll arrive not exhausted, but ready. Not broken, but built. And that's the version of success that stays with you. So the next time you feel left behind, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, am I rushing because it's right or because I'm scared of standing still? Then remember, greatness is not a race, it's a rhythm. It's not in how fast you move, but how consistently you show up. The world doesn't need you to finish first, it needs you to finish strong. Because in the end, it's not the loudest who leave a mark. It's the ones who stayed steady, calm in the chaos, slow in the storm, but unshakable in their direction. And when others burn out, you'll still be moving. Not rushed, not reckless, just ready. That's what happens when you understand the real power of slowing down. 10. Breathe like a warrior. Calmness doesn't start in the mind, it begins in the breath. Before the mind can regain clarity, before the body can reset under stress, before any Stoic wisdom can even take root, your breath must come under control. Because in the heat of pressure, it's not logic we lose first, it's rhythm. The breath shortens, the chest tightens, and with that, reason slips out the back door. If you can't regulate your breath, you won't regulate your thoughts. And if you can't regulate your thoughts, your actions will betray your values. The Stoics didn't speak about breath in the way the East did, but they lived it. Their entire philosophy was structured around self-command, and breath is the gatekeeper of that command. In a chaotic moment, you can't always change the situation, but you can change your breath. In doing so, you intercept the cycle of panic before it takes over. You tell the nervous system, I am not in danger. I am in control. And that single physiological shift rewires how your mind processes challenge. It's no accident that warriors, monks, and elite athletes all train their breath. Not because it's mystical, but because it's mechanical. Calmness isn't a mood, it's a pattern. And breath is its code. When you inhale deliberately, hold with stillness, and release with control, you remind yourself that no matter what's happening outside, there's an anchor inside that no one can take from you. This is not about relaxation, it's about readiness. The kind of presence that lets you stand steady when others shake. In practical terms, mastering your breath means building rituals, not waiting for the storm, but preparing for it. Begin your mornings in stillness, not with urgency. Take 2 minutes to breathe before a tough conversation. Use the breath to shift from reactivity to observation. These moments add up. Over time, you stop reacting from instinct and start responding from intention. You reclaim seconds, and those seconds give you the edge most never reach. There's a difference between those who explode in stress and those who absorb it with composure. It's not personality, it's practice. And it always comes back to the breath. The warrior doesn't panic in battle because he's fearless. He remains calm because he knows how to return to himself. No matter the pressure, no matter the noise, no matter the stakes. When the breath is steady, so is the mind. And when the mind is steady, the action becomes precise. Apply this to your own life. Train your breath the way you train your body. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale through the mouth for 6, repeat. Let this pattern be your shield in moments of heat, conflict, or doubt. Let it interrupt the spiral before it begins. Let it bring your attention back to the one place where all power lives. Now, because the person who controls their breath controls their state. And the person who controls their state controls the outcome. Calmness is not just a mindset. It's a practice you return to with every breath. And over time, you don't just learn to stay calm under fire, you learn to command the fire. So when the world pulls you in every direction, when emotions tighten like a vice, when the stakes rise and your pulse quickens, breathe, not as an escape, but as an entry. Into clarity, into command, into the quiet power that doesn't flinch, doesn't shout, doesn't chase, but simply holds the line, one breath at a time. When the world tells you to run faster, speak louder, and chase harder, choose calm, because calmness is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It is the foundation for clarity, for wise decisions, for real success. You've just walked through 10 principles drawn from Stoic philosophy and forged in the reality of modern life. Each one offers you more than knowledge. It offers you a tool, a way to reclaim your focus, to protect your energy, and to move forward without being dragged by chaos. When you stop fighting reality, you find power in acceptance. When your mind is still, your next move becomes sharp. When you reduce expectations and silence the noise, your actions gain weight. When you use pain instead of running from it, you build a mental armor no failure can break. And when you slow down, breathe like a warrior, and root your thoughts in gratitude, you stop reacting to life and start leading it. These are not one-time changes. They are daily disciplines. This path requires practice. But every breath you take with intention, every time you pause instead of panic, every time you show up without needing noise, that's how calmness becomes your default. And that's how success, real, lasting, inner success, becomes inevitable. So take what spoke to you in this video, reflect on it, apply it, let it shape how you handle pressure, how you train your thoughts, how you carry yourself in silence. And if this message reached you at the right time, share your story in the comments below. Your words may guide someone else, because wisdom shared is never lost. It only grows stronger in stillness.